Where's my pick?
Do I have to get it submitted?
Here I am.
All right, it's not allowing the camera to work. Relax. Okay, no camera. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Commissioner Tom Lasser. Welcome to the May Los Angeles County Veterans Advisory Commission. We're live. It turns out my camera is not working on my computer, so I'll be doing audio as it turns out. And next on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to ask Anthony Allman to lead the May Veterans Advisory Commission in the Pledge of Allegiance. Anthony, you on board?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair. Please stand, or if you're able to, please stand and face the flag and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Take your seats. Next on the agenda will be the roll call of the commissioners by Stephanie Guerrero, Secretary of the Advisory Commission.
Tom Lasser.
Present.
Joe Leal.
Present.
Brittany Moore. Patricia Jackson Kelly.
Present.
Joanna McFadden. Anthony Elman.
I'm here, present.
Just one more time going through. Brittany Moore. And Joanna McFadden.
She's
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I didn't get that.
she's on military leave.
Oh, okay.
She's on orders. Okay.
Chair, there is no quorum.
Thank you very much for the roll call. So there will be no official minutes. Notes will be taken for historical purposes. And that leads to the next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. And if we do not have a quorum, we don't have approval for your review, and we will have to defer approval of minutes to the June meeting. Chairman report, that's me. I'd like to announce the departure of Commissioner Mike Mcdowell, a former Marine, just got his PhD, and turns out that his job is taking him to Texas. So he resigned effective 3 May, and that leads to another vacancy as far as the commissioner is concerned. He's from the 5th District. As far as vacancies are concerned on the commission, please don't contact the Military Veterans Department or myself. If you are interested, contact your field deputy in your district of your hometown. 2 major conditions to be a commissioner. 1, a veteran with an honorable discharge. Secondly, you have to live in the district. So if you're in the 5th District, there's a couple of vacancies. There's one in the 4th District. But please don't call patriotic call. Call your supervisor or your field deputy in your respective district. A couple other notes, just as a reminder, this is Military Appreciation Month. Saturday is actually Armed Forces Day. Won't be celebrated like normally do. The big parade in the Torrance has been postponed for COVID reasons. And of course, 31 May is Memorial Day, and there will be some celebrations in the county and we'll try to get some information out to you. But if you can attend a Memorial Day event, please do so. I know they're going to do a small one in Redondo. There's going to be something on the Iowa. I haven't seen the full list. Not as robust as it was 2 years ago, hardly anything last year, but take that under consideration to participate in Memorial Day. We're going to also defer the report from the nominating committee and do that later on. Next on the agenda are public comments, and these are comments from the audience, items not on the agenda. The time limit is 3 minutes per person, and no questions are asked of the individual. This is just a member of the audience expressing themselves. And I think we have one person that has signed up for public comment, and that's Letitia Suttle. Ms. Suttle, are you on board?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning, or good afternoon.
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead with your comments.
Okay. I have pretty much the same comment I do every month about veterans being properly identified in family court, children's court, and with the Department of Children and Family Services. I know you all had a speaker, Mr. Dimitri, to acknowledge the problem, and he's supposed to be, I guess, doing more investigation. Just wanted to know, I know you all are, state that you can't respond to public comment, but I need advice on how I can get a responses to updates on this, and if there will be others assisting Mr. Dimitri on finding a solution and a timeline on fixing the issue with veterans being properly identified in family court, children's court, and with the Department of Children and Family Services, and getting the wraparound support that's needed so that they don't continue falling through the cracks with this system and being separated from their children and going into this downward spiral that could lead into homelessness and re-traumatization, from things they experienced in the military. To go through that system, the court system, is very stressful, and there's no wraparound support for veterans for that. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. We'll take that under consideration and discuss it with Mr. De Silva. He's not with us today. Thank you very much. Since there are no other public comments, we're going to move into our guest speakers. We're going to pass on Tom Ruck from Long Beach VA for future consideration at his request. And the next person on the agenda is the Veterans Peer Access Network from Mr. Jenner. And Joe Real, can you introduce Mr. Jenner?
Yes, sir. Very, very happy to all commissioners and chair and all its guests to introduce Mr. James Zenner, a man behind the force and the creation of the Veteran Peer Access Network. I am very excited for you to hear that on what it's done already in the small span of its physical creation. Mr. Zenner, being a veteran himself, and his team have taken the issues of homelessness, mental health, and brought about a positive solution. Mr. Zenner, we are glad and honored that you're here. Please, sir, take it away, sir.
Commissioner Leal, thanks for the invite, and good to be here with the commission. Director Wong, Kathleen, good to see you both. I'm Jim Zenner, U.S. Army vet. I served 4 years active duty, 3 years reserve, and my trade is now social work. And for a long time, I worked in the nonprofit and spent a little bit of time at VA, and lucky enough to come on board with LA County Department of Mental Health right as the Veteran Peer Access Network was getting launched through a series of board motions starting in 2018. Since 2018, we've been pretty busy. We had a really big uptick in delivery as a way of the November 19th, 2019 board motion, which outlined a public-private partnership with Southern California grant makers to produce 5 teams of 8 peers, 1 in each supervisor district. Also provide training to 100 peers a year, as well as establishing rally points across the county. We entered into a contract with Southern California grant makers to be the fiscal intermediary July 1st, 2020. Since then, we've hired up 5 teams of 8. Right now, we have 36 out of 40 positions filled. We have teams across the supervisory districts. They meet every single day, with the exception of Wednesdays, with the rest of the teams in each of the supervisor district. We have 3 DMH staff at each supervisor district who are also veterans and family members, as well as, by way of a MOU with the Department of Military Veterans Affairs, a staff member from that department on each of the supervisor district teams to provide benefits and navigation. And really, the design of that is just to tear down barriers. We also have introduced members from the mental evaluation team that are specific to working with vets. We're currently working with the Los Angeles VA to get some of their outreach peers on the team. Introductions have been made, but they're not currently on those teams. But that's the future of the Veteran Peer Access Network, is really inviting key stakeholders that really we hear from the peer teams of who they need on those calls, so that they have everything they need to be successful. That's the model, is really just hire veterans and family member peers and empower them. I'm really proud of that. Within 6 months, SEG was able to hire up the majority. We've been providing services as a team since January. Our goals are really to reduce homelessness, reduce suicide, reduce and underemployment, as well as dramatically increase the ease of access for veterans and military family members, as well as just extend the reach, make sure that, we got over 10 million residents in LA County. We want as many of those 10 million to know about the Veteran Peer Access Network and how to get a hold of us as possible. So those are really kind of our outcomes that we're targeting with all these efforts. As far as numbers, we're currently receiving about 35 to 40 referrals through the official channels. Right now, we have a support line that's available 7 days a week, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So we're just under 40 referrals through that mechanism per week. We're taking over 600 calls per month. All those calls are answered by veterans or family member peers themselves. And really, kind of what we've seen is the number one requests for services are really in the area of homelessness, mental health, and benefits, as well as employment. Those are really kind of the number one leading requests for services, or why people reach out to us. On the support line, sometimes it's just having a conversation. They're having a bad day. A veteran or a family member is having a bad day. They just want to connect to somebody and have a non-judgmental, open ear with maybe some experience that they could talk to. And so that's what we're currently doing on the support line. Right now, field services are available Monday through Friday, typically 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. But the community-based teams, as well as the DMH staff, has shown a great deal of flexibility as far as showing up to outreach events, as well as George Dixon and the MVA team, to really be flexible and meet the needs of the community. We've done some events out in the community on the weekends, but officially we're only providing services right now Monday through Friday, with the hopes in the future, because one of the major things that we hear from the community is that veteran problems, military family problems don't just exist in between 8 and 5 p.m. It's 7 days a week. And often for dual income families that are both at work 8 to 5, they often don't have time to ask for help or step away to get help during the regular hours. So that's we have our eyes on that. It's in the future. We're just not there yet. Part of the contract with Southern California grant makers was for them to identify a technology platform for us to use to really make the process easier on the consumer or the veteran and military family member. They chose Unite Us. We've been working really hard since November to grow the network within Unite Us, so that when our peers go out and they identify somebody, they take their basic demographic information once, and then anybody that they refer to has that basic information, so that we're not continually asking veterans and family members for the same information. That's another thing I've heard from the community is from veterans and family members, I'm tired of getting bounced around. I'm tired of going here and you guys ask me a bunch of questions and then you send me over here and they ask me a bunch of questions. We just want the process simplified. So that's really our solution to simplifying the process. Also reducing the time on our peers and clinical staff on making those referrals. Once somebody's in Unitas, it's a simple click of the button, and at any time they can go in, much like the benefits side, and see what the status of that referral is, much like you can with your claims on e-benefits. So that's one issue we've been pushing really hard. We're up to approximately 50 in-network partners, and it's growing. Within LA County as a whole, Unitas has over 200 partners on the platform currently. It's just 50 are specific to serving veterans. Not that veterans can't get services from the other 150 plus organizations on the platform. Part of Southern California Grantmakers' effort has also been a transition from USC leadership of the collaborative over to Southern California Grantmakers. I'm very proud to announce that U.S. Air Force reservist Amy Bravo has taken over as the executive director of LAVC as a Southern California Grantmakers employee, where we will continue to support the LA Veteran Collaborative from a logistical standpoint. Just make sure that Amy, much like our teams, has everything she needs to lead the collaborative and be successful in our community. And really, the last piece, I hope I didn't go over time, Commissioner Leal, but ETS, Expiration Term of Service sponsorship program. It's a pilot program, and we've been really fortunate that they have chosen LA as one of the pilot sites. And this will allow us to get access to transitioning service members who have not quite left the service yet. I know we've been kind of working on this as a county family for a while. This is a great opportunity to have access to a dashboard where we can get referrals and plug them into coaches or mentors. The program calls them sponsors, but they're basically a volunteer force that George and Anthony Rodriguez from CalVets and WEDAX and DHR, they've all come to the monthly meetings that we have to give our sponsors and our community the best information that we can to empower them, to empower transitioning service members that return to LA County to call it their home. So very, very exciting. As a result, the local VA got funding for 2 positions. One position that's going to reside within the suicide prevention office, and the other one's going to be with the transitional care management team, otherwise known as the OAF transition coordination team. I think that was their old name. But basically, those 2 points of contact are going to be points of contact for the Veteran Peer Access Network and the ETS program as it kicks off for any kind of access to VHA needs that we have, to include our MVA partners. You know, as we wrap up fiscal year 1 and we move into fiscal year 2, we're going to be launching our rally points, basically, my colleague over at SEG, Christina Garcia, who's a retired Army veteran, calls it's like a USO. It's not a place where we hang a big sign that says mental health over the front door. It's a space in each of the supervisor districts where veterans and family members can come in, connect with another veteran or family member, whether they're an MVA staff or community-based organization staff, who's a peer who has some some shared lived experience themselves of going through the military or supporting a dependent that made it through the military, and you know, just getting access to resources. We're looking at holding peer-run groups. We're also looking to bring folks like CalVets, MVA, employment services like JVS and WEDAX into those locations. Whatever each of the communities say that they want, we're looking to bring those resources to them and have those conversations, especially as we look to get past the COVID-19 pandemic. We're doing some soft launches last part of June, but the public is going to be invited to a grand opening at a later date. That soft launch end of June is really going to be a walkthrough with some of our partners at the VA and our staff to take a look and make sure that we got all the signage and furniture in the right place, and we're ready to open up a welcoming location for veterans and family members to come visit. But that's pretty much the update from the Veteran Peer Access Network, and thanks again, Commissioner Leal, for inviting me. Good to see a lot of familiar faces, and look forward to coming back whenever you guys would like an update. Just one final piece from what I've been hearing is really from the community. When is Patriotic Call going to open up? I just bring that up just to let the commission know that and Director Wong know that that's something that I've really been getting a lot of questions from the community about. And that's it on my end.
Okay, very good report, very comprehensive. Thank you very much. And if there's no other business here, we're going to move on to the next speaker. And
I have a couple follow-up. Sorry,
Sorry?
Chair. I have a couple. It's Commissioner Allman, Anthony. I have a couple follow-up questions. So I wanted to ask, Jim, I know you've been working for a long time on this particular issue. It's really VPAN is an access point for not only county services, but federal, but for the purposes of our conversation, we're a county commission, right? For DMVA, are there any assets that you need from this particular agency? I mean, what are you drawing on? Benefit officers? What are you asking the county department to do?
Yeah, I really, at this point, I don't have any specific asks. I've been working closely with George Dixon. He's been really stepping up and mentoring a lot of the staff, specifically around benefits. As an all-veteran commission, you guys know just as much as I do the intricacy of benefits and navigating that landscape. So George has been really great, giving our team information and empowering his team to commit their time to the supervisor district teams and integrate as part of our teams. I think that, that just the biggest piece, and it was the last thing that I mentioned, is Patriotic Call. Just kind of knowing how to word it, if there's any kind of updates as far as like Patriotic Call opening back up and any kind of messaging I can, provide to my team and make sure that we're messaging it the way everybody else is messaging it. Would be helpful, I think, at this point. I mean, we have our directives from the Department of Health, and I think it's a consensus across the county departments. But if there's any other kind of messaging that would be helpful around Patriotic Call, that'd be useful.
And then the only follow-up question I would have, I can't let you go without talking about Veterans Row and what the VPAN and DMH is doing out there. Can you talk a little bit about what services VPAN is providing to the veterans on Veterans Row?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the commission might have heard that there was a fatality the night before Easter, and so as a result, we had already been down there. Both our community-based team and our Soup District 3 team providing services on a weekly basis. And after that incident, it was clear that a lot of the veterans are really dealing with more mental health than we thought they were dealing with, to include substance abuse. And so at that point, just, speaking with VA leadership, speaking with the AMVETS leadership out there, Rob, and speaking to some of the veterans, kind of debriefing after that event happened on Easter, we saw a need to have more of a mental health presence. We had peers out there, and we were taking the non-clinical outreach approach. So on top of the 1 day a week that we were providing to link people to housing mostly, we've added a day Friday afternoon or Friday mornings from 10 to 1 to just have at least one clinician just go set up a chair and just have conversations and engage the veterans there and really do an assessment, a light assessment on the mental health side to see if there's any veterans that might be decompensating and really struggling so that we can get them into care. We've had veterans that were struggling with suicide as well out there. And so we've been in constant contact with the suicide prevention team. We have a community suicide prevention coordinator who's based out of the VA suicide prevention team. And we loop her in to what's going on and if there's any at-risk veterans for suicide there. But we've gotten more involved as a result of that incident. And just really keeping a good gauge on the mental health and the housing needs of the veterans out there.
Thanks, Jim.
You bet. Chaplain Cohen, I saw you have a hand up. I don't know if I'm out of
Yes,
turn. But
I just wanted to make sure that I communicated with you that all of your staff, we will make sure that they have information available as they may wish to use it for the Kevin Dobson Memorial Food to Life program. It's free, freshly prepared meals. We make them at night, deliver them in the morning. And for those that have literally living on the streets without refrigeration, without microwaves, we've started a separate program that we deliver daily, so they have enough food for that day that's not perishable. So we're here for them. It's free, and we're happy to support your program as well.
that's great. Yeah, I remember meeting you, sir, and it's good to put a face to the name. I know Crystal was in communication with you, but now that we kind of have this kind of, for lack of a better term, battle rhythm with the meetings with all the staff,
Right.
I'll have to circle back around with you via email and see if you might come and address the whole team now that we're up and going. Awesome.
Thank you.
Great. Yep.
Okay, good questions, good comments. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the Los Angeles Homeless Service Authority with Melanie Martin, and she will be introduced by Anthony Allman. Anthony, Commissioner Allman.
Thanks, Chair. Appreciate it. Hi, Melanie. Good to see you. So this was an issue I brought up at the last meeting with regard to female veteran access to emergency shelter programs at VA West LA. And Building 257, which is right now the Homeless Veteran Welcome Center, is exclusively for males. No female veterans are allowed. VA has discussed the possibility of reorganizing that program, bringing it from 46 beds currently for homeless male veterans down to 20 beds for female homeless veterans. And oftentimes when you ask why, VA will say, well, maybe the population of female homeless veterans in LA doesn't justify having as many beds. And this is something I know that Melanie and I have talked about, I think it was a couple of years ago in 2019. And so just wanted to ask, the local experts, obviously LASA being a county agency, being, very, very close to the homelessness issue in LA County, what are they seeing in terms of the data, and see if there is a demand or if there is a need for additional emergency shelter beds. Of course, we know there's a need for permanent housing, but in the interim, what can we do? So with that, Melanie, I'll just give it to you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, commissioners. So just so folks are aware of what we are using to look at our data. Obviously, we do have the point in time homeless count that occurs every year. We did not have one this year due to the pandemic. But the list that we're using to kind of look at our data is what we call our by name list, our Veterans BNL. And it's an ongoing list of our veterans that are active and experiencing homelessness in our community. And we use it to track our veterans, but we also use it to case conference and work towards getting them housed, what we call match to housing. And then to other resources that are needed, such as emergency beds, healthcare, employment, those types of things, predominantly used to make sure veterans are connected to resources and to permanent supportive housing. What we are seeing in the data is that historically we haven't had, not that there are not female veterans, there just is not a large amount in female veterans. But I think the challenge is not that we don't need specific housing for female veterans, specific emergency shelter units, because I believe that we do. I think the challenge is looking at how they are structured now and why aren't the resources that we do have now, why aren't those being utilized? Because this topic comes out fairly often. And I believe when we looked into this was several months ago, I want to say maybe 4 months ago, we looked at what female beds we did have available right now through grant per diems, and they were being underutilized. But we ran the data, and even though obviously the female numbers have historically always been lower than the male numbers, there are females out there. And so I think the question really is, what kind of locations are the female beds being placed in? Because what we see a lot of times is female veterans don't want to necessarily go into the same spaces that there are male veterans present, or those bigger locations like we see. And I think that's been more of what we've seen with the data. There are female veterans, but there also a lot of availability and empty beds in the existing programs that are currently open. So I guess, like I said before, what we need to be looking at is, why is that? And what can we do differently? How can these beds look differently? I know when the VA had last time, or in other meetings, VA has talked about creating some female specific beds that were separate from the larger community. And that, I think, is probably what we want to be looking towards. And that would maybe speak to the disparity that kind of exists right now, or the gap that there's beds, but yet there's no females utilizing them, or they're not staying there for long periods of time. I know when I was working within the Long Beach Continuum of Care, that one of the few programs that do have beds for females is our Long Beach US Vets program, and they have both single females and they have for women with children. And sometimes it felt hard to keep those beds filled. Now that might look a little different. This is my experience from several years ago when I was over at Long Beach. But I know that was an ongoing challenge, and some of the messaging that we heard from our female veterans then. So I think, kind of just to speak to what Anthony was saying, it's looking at the data. We want to look at it in a quantitative way, but also in a qualitative way. Like, why does the data look like this? Why don't these numbers add up? Anthony, is that answering kind of to what you're speaking to as far as the need? I would say need, yes. Need, yes. We do potentially need, especially for women with children. I think that's where we've seen kind of a challenge, is a woman with one or two children. But I think, how do we make those beds trauma-informed spaces where female veterans actually want to come to? Because when we're looking at our beds right now, there's availabilities.
Right.
And that just sometimes doesn't feel like it aligns with like what we're asking if we are just looking at the numbers. But I think, to speak to what you're saying, they're out there. So how do we make the services desirable for them and the space desirable for them?
Yeah, I think that's an issue that VA raises from time to time as well. There are excess beds available in the community. So because those aren't full, then there isn't a demand. And I think that there should be that distinction. Just because they're not filled doesn't mean that there isn't a demand out there in the community. Were you able at all to look at the by name list and just get a general framework? I mean, I think when we looked at the 2019 numbers, we're somewhere around 163 on the by name list. But that was 2019. That was prior to COVID. Are you seeing different data now?
It's pretty similar. Let me pull up my last report. Yes, here it is. Yeah, so it's looking at, this was just pulled last month, and we're at about 189 females reporting homelessness in LA County, female veterans.
Female veteran. And how many are VA healthcare eligible? I think back in 2019, it was maybe a difference of 30, 33 or so.
Yeah, usually, I'm sorry, I'm filtering out the data. Looks like the majority are, now some of these have been verified, some of these haven't, because they're self-report, and then as we case conference, we go through and we verify. Out of 189, yeah, it looks all but about 42 are VA healthcare eligible, as per self-report, and then we have there's a handful that we haven't confirmed on the
Yeah.
VA side, but for the most part, they are VA healthcare eligible.
When you do the case conferencing, I don't know if people are familiar with that or what that looks like. Are you hearing a common refrain from female homeless veterans about what their needs are in terms of housing?
Yeah, I think what we hear, and it's been, I think, a huge challenge for female veterans, is that a lot of times, especially if it's a female veteran with a child, there's protective factors when there's family, when there's children involved. So a lot of times what we see for female veterans with young children is that they don't meet the traditional definition of homeless. So they are couch surfing. They definitely are not, they have housing instability. And they're bouncing from family to family member, friend to friend. And the challenge is that that doesn't make them considered homeless through HUD and eligible for specific housing resources. And so the alternative option is to say, hey, leave this space or this home that you're temporarily staying in and go stay in a transitional living, which is an option. But we also don't want to say, go stay on the street, so you can be eligible for these buildings. So I think that is one specific issue with female veterans, especially those with young children, is that we hear a lot of story. We hear there's a lot of female veterans out there, and the challenges, they're not specifically meeting the definition of homelessness. I think the other piece is identification of these female veterans, not always identifying as veterans. And so we have really made sure to adapt the language to not ask, are you a veteran, but ask if you served in active military, and just really making sure we can identify who those female veterans are and connect them to the proper resources. I think the other piece is a safety factor. So I will just kind of speak to, this is permanent housing, but can also be applicable to interim transitional housing. So for example, we have a number of veteran VASH buildings opening up in Service Planning Area 4, which is, downtown LA Metro, and Service Planning Area 6, which is South LA area generally. Tons of units, which this is fantastic. They're buildings that are brand new. But sometimes the buildings are not in the most desirable neighborhoods or what is perceived as safe neighborhoods, especially for female veterans. So that's something we see often enough. With some of these female veterans, they're trying to match to these permanent supportive housing options, is that because a lot of the buildings just are being built in, like, for example, there's 2 right now in downtown Skid Row. Beautiful, beautiful buildings, but they are Skid Row adjacent. And a lot of our female veterans have denied those buildings. Same with the South LA ones. They're just not comfortable with the neighborhood or the area. And I think for female veterans, obviously safety is a factor for everyone, but for female veterans, this comes up a lot more. So that's a specific challenge I see we face with that group. We are always looking, to make sure if we have a female veteran on the street during our case conferencing, how do we get her connected now? And that means to transitional, that means to our long-term, a plan for long-term housing. If we know that there are open units, we start making a plan to get the veteran matched if she is open to those units, because we know temporary interim housing is important, but the ultimate goal really is permanent housing, because we don't want someone just continuing to rotate through our interim housing programs.
Sure.
We want them permanently housed. But those, I would say, are the female specific issues that we see, is identification, and then just making sure that where we're housing them permanently and transitionally is a place where they feel safe. That
Right.
comes up often for us.
And the by name list, does it account for, I'm guessing it has an identifier for children? So of the 189, sorry, I wasn't taking notes. How many of those have children? Those female veterans, would you?
It's hard to differentiate children. We have a slot for household size, so it's not always a child.
Okay.
Where we differentiate for children is we actually just have a note section that we say household with a minor. And those we flag right away, only because there are actually quite a few family units open for female veterans in certain areas. And so if we see that there's a minor involved, we immediately flag them and start connecting them to a project-based resource if that's something they want. They don't always want a project-based, they sometimes want their own tenant-based voucher. I think the challenge is kind of what Tamor you were speaking to, is getting them connected to an interim housing space where they want to go and they feel safe, especially if they have a young child.
Yeah, that's often the point I make with regard to VA West Los Angeles in general. It's in, very nice part of LA. It's very calm. It's very, pleasant campus, 388 acres. It's beautiful, and it's big enough that I think it could sustain various, populations of veterans. So for example, veterans that have not just female veterans, but male and female veterans with dependents. So I think we need to tease that out more, or specifically, I would like to tease that out more with VA. It's just saying, hey, if you look at the data, it doesn't tell you the whole picture, right? Just because there is an excess supply of beds doesn't mean that there isn't a problem.
Correct. Yeah, and I think we've talked through that a little bit with them as well. And you're right. I think it's a conversation to keep having, and really looking at what are the systemic issues that are getting in the way. It's what we're looking at through the lens of permanent housing, as well as why is this happening, that there are open beds and female vets on the street, but we're not matching them up. And it's things like I spoke to, areas where they may not be wanting to go, or not feeling safe, or feeling like they have more autonomy. Some people just don't want to be in a program, and they feel they have more autonomy, living out of their car or whatnot. So that's also, that happens, of course. Yeah. But yeah, I think when we look at the data, it's always important to look at not just the numbers, but the story, the other factors that go around that. Definitely.
I don't want to occupy all the time. I don't know if there's other commissioners that have questions.
Any other commissioners? And if there are no questions, we're going to be moving on. Commissioner Allman, thank you very much. Ms. Martins, thank you. Where is your office located?
We are located in downtown Los Angeles on Wilshire, 707 Wilshire, off of Wilshire and Flower.
Thank you. If there's no more questions, I appreciate both of you, and that was good. I learned a lot. Next, we're going to go
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to the session of communications from the Public Information Officer at the MBA, Kathleen Pichet, and she'll be introduced by Colonel Wong.
Good morning, good afternoon, commissioners and special guests. I'd like to introduce our communications officer, Kathleen Pichet. She is an Emmy Award recipient and has done much work in the field of mental health. And she is currently working on a project to redesign our website. She is getting a lot of information from our consumers on what they would like to see. In addition to that, she is working on our phone system communications, and how we receive information into the department, and how we serve our customers better communication-wise. So with that, I want to introduce Kathleen. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, General. Thank you, everyone, for inviting me to be here today. And let me know at any time if you have any questions. Like the General mentioned, I do all things communication related at LA County Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. In addition to that, I do some other miscellaneous things like organizing patriotic calls, the polling place during the last election, and award submission, and some other things, including producing the documentary did last Veterans Day on Unsung Heroes from the Greatest Generation, which is on YouTube, if you'd like to look at that, about the end of the 75th anniversary of World War II and the veterans and people who were there who were never acknowledged for their roles during that war. So currently, as the General mentioned, I'm working on the MVA website, doing a redesign and reboot. And George Dixon and I are polling the VSOs to ask clients and consumers about their experience with the website. and trying to get a better feel and way for people to interact with the website. We know there are flaws with it. I'm sure you've experienced that if you've gone there, and I can show that to you if you'd like. But in addition to that, I'm helping VPAN with their support, their communications right now. Pre-COVID, as you probably know, we had a lot of events. I organize all those events and promote those. I do videos, do the social media. There's a lot of events. If you have any events, we like to put those on social media because it's a better way to reach people for events that are timely. So let's see what else. Currently working with the CIO to get funding for the website redesign. And that's kind of an ongoing thing, but hopefully by June we can do a presentation and get that rolling. And so that's kind of in a nutshell what I'm doing. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Kathleen, this is Commissioner Lasser. Do you have a end date or end state for the website when you think you might be able to roll it out?
We don't, because the ITF money from CIO is we have to do a presentation, they have to approve it, and then ISD, Internal Services Department with LA County, would be redesigning it with our participation. I would think it would hopefully be within the next 3 to 6 months. And so that's kind of I asked them for a timeline. They were able to give me that. They said, you know, it just depends on when we go through each step of the process. How fast.
Another question. I'm not a Facebook person, but does the department have a Facebook page?
Oh, yes, we do. Here, let me show it to you. Let me see if I can.
Okay, I'm just not a Facebook person. I'm challenged with my computer and myself.
More of a TikTok kind of guy.
Yeah, I can't even spell TikTok.
Can you see my screen?
No,
No, I just see.
no, you can't.
That's okay. It was just a question,
He's
and
gonna try to give us a screenshot so we can see.
Yeah, I could show you if I could share, but I don't think I can.
okay. But we have one. Everybody needs to know that. That'll go in a minute. And I need to talk to my daughter, figure it out.
Yeah, we have, if you go either on the website or on the, most people's, their signature has the Facebook icon and the Twitter and Instagram. We have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for MBA.
Sure, I have a couple of follow-ups when you're
Sure.
done.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Commissioner Allman.
So this topic came up at the last meeting. I requested if we can get some analytics based off of the department's Gov Delivery mailing list. Do you know how many subscribers the mailing list has?
The Gov Delivery is a cloud-based solution too. In the county, every county department uses Gov Delivery, and it's connected to us through the county. So when we send out a Gov Delivery, it goes to every single county department, and it goes to all a list of press through CEO, and also goes to some private people who have signed up for our to be like when you get the pop-up box on the website and they sign up, right. That's who it goes to. So
do you know how many people?
How many in total? Okay, so in total, oh my gosh, because I just sent a press release out Monday. So there were like 14,000 people. A lot. Yeah, I can get some analytics on each one of those for you because Gov Delivery provides that to us.
Yeah, it's a great service. I mean, it's just like a Constant Contact or MailChimp. You know, Gov Delivery is just a government solution, same service.
Mhm.
But the reason why I bring it up is just because oftentimes, talking to other veterans, they have no idea what the Veterans Advisory Commission is. And, getting veterans to be aware that our meetings are taking place on a regular basis, that we have agendas, that you can come make public comments to the agenda. I think we could do a better job in terms of consistently messaging that this body exists.
Mhm.
And I think that we can do that through shipping our information out, not through an internal, mailing list, but really using the broader Gov Delivery solution.
Yeah, we can do that.
And I know with Gov Delivery, we can create like sublists, like for example, so when you sign up for the department mailing list, you can create not a folder, but basically a subgenre, if you will, for Veterans Advisory Commission. That way, at any point in time, if people get bored about what we're doing, they can unsubscribe, but at least that way they're still on the department mailing list. So it gets pretty granular with how you decide to receive information.
Sure, we could create that.
Because I think everyone's sort of been on a mailing list that they can't get off of, or there's 300, 400 emails on a mailing list. Somebody copies and pastes it, and now you're on another mailing list that you never really intended. And I think Gov Delivery is a solution that can minimize that. So people can subscribe, their information is safe, they can unsubscribe whenever they want. I think it's a pretty streamlined solution.
Mhm. I'd actually like to say one more thing. For the new commissioners, if you have a photo and a bio, I could put that on the website. I know that some have left, but anyone who's new, please let me know, and then I'll update that section.
Excellent. This is Commissioner Lasser again. Since I understand the funding issue, and it could be several months, but if anybody has a suggestion or an idea, like you just came up with, you're the point of contact, go directly to you.
Yes, you can.
Good. Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Ms. Beachy? Appreciate it. Okay. Sorry about that, Kathleen. Very good. So we're going to segue now. Thank you very much. We're going to segue now into the Department of Military and Veterans report from General Wong.
Yes, good afternoon again, commissioners and special guests. And since we had the question about opening a patriotic call, I'd like to address that. The best answer I can give you right now is sometime this summer. Sometime this summer is probably the best answer I can give you as to the opening of patriotic call. We have completed an assessment that was requested by the CEO, and all the items in that assessment we marked that we were able to accomplish. The next step in that assessment, it goes to the Board of Supervisors, and the board then decides when buildings are going to be open. Some departments have already opened. There are two departments, the County Library and the Parks and Recreations Department. They have partially reopened. And so some of their staff is still teleworking. Our staff here at Military and Veterans, the majority are teleworking. And but again, we're anticipating opening, and we're getting things in place to accept our clients. I have to say that my staff has done a remarkable job this past year. They haven't skipped a beat in terms of serving veterans. They've been doing it from their homes. They've been using Skype meetings initially. Now they're using team meetings, and things are going very, very well. We had a little bit of a dip in our numbers and our productivity, but those numbers have come right back up. And so we're looking forward to seeing all of you in person versus virtually. So keep your fingers crossed, and hopefully in the next couple months, I'll be able to give you a thumbs up that we're open. The second thing I wanted to bring up is, and I have the book in front of me here, this is an annual report that was published by the California County Veteran Service Officers. It is in commemoration of the 75th anniversary of our organization. It was started in 1945. And this report is a report of when it all began and where we are now. There's a number of things that are mentioned about LA County that are all really good. If you would like a report, please let Stephanie Guerrero know and she will make sure that you receive it. I wanted to remind everyone that on Saturday of the Memorial Day weekend, the 5th District will be paying tribute to veterans and families. It will be a virtual event. Our department will be having veteran service officers that will be giving classes online. There will also be a selection of Veteran of the Year from each county department, and then an overall Veteran of the Year from the 1st District, and they will be presenting a special award to honor our commissioner who had passed away a few months ago, Hector Elizalde. There will be a pre-recorded message by Supervisor Barber and as well as by myself. Other Memorial Day events that we have participated in, something called our Community Salute. This was a request made by our friend over at the Veterans Administration, who hosts this event annually. It's an event to honor high school ROTC graduates and enlistees that will be joining the military, and that is a virtual event, and usually several hundred high school graduates enlist here in LA County, and they also receive the oath of office at that event. This past Saturday, my department was participating in a veterans food distribution for the 2nd District in Culver City. We had a number of our service officers there making appointments and providing information to the public. Memorial Day itself, there will be a KABC telecast that will be done. Yesterday, we had a live Facebook event with our partners called Carry the Load. That was an event where the veterans from this organization, Carry the Load, carried the flag across the country, 13 different sites, and they stopped here at Patriotic Hall, and a message was provided to them and goodwill for the remainder of their trip. On Veterans Day, Memorial Day itself, we will be at Woodlawn Cemetery, located in Compton. We're going to be honoring those individuals who helped to restore that cemetery. There are Civil War veterans that are buried there, and I will be presenting scrolls to their volunteers who have helped in that effort. I want to remind everyone about COVID immunizations. There are no appointments needed right now. The county has administered over 8 million doses. 40% of the residents in our county have been vaccinated. A couple of months ago, we had a female veteran from Orange County, Stephanie Wade, that addressed this group on some of the things that were going on within the LGBT community and the character of discharges that were given to that population. I wanted to update that report. On May 4th, there was a board motion from both the 3rd and the 1st District supporting our LGBT community, as well as active duty and veteran military service members in Los Angeles County. From 1949 to 2011, service members faced horrific and swift consequences if they were discovered to be LGBTQ. Many were tied to military criminal courts, and charged with criminal acts simply because of their sexual orientation. So the motion moves as saying that the Board of Supervisors instructed our legislative analysts in Washington, D.C. and Sacramento to support changes and enhancements to Title 10 of the U.S. Government Code and advocate in support of reforms to the current DoD procedures for discharge status upgrades for these veterans, as well as changes to gender identity, name, and other relevant sections on discharge documentation negatively impacting those who have transitioned post-separation from the military. Then I also wanted to mention another board motion that came forward from the 5th District Veteran Suicide Review Team. This is a partnership with the VA, our Department of Mental Health, and our Medical Examiner's Office to obtain accurate numbers of veteran suicides within LA County and to establish a suicide review team. And then next month, CalVet's going to be hosting at their annual summit. And I have signed up our department and US Vets to talk about our Outside the Wire program at the 13 community colleges in Los Angeles County through Proposition 63 funding. So that is my report, and thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Very good, comprehensive for being closed. The department appears to be pretty busy. There are no questions or comments from General Long. I want to move up to item number 9, and this is for the commissioners. Any items for next month's agenda? Any speakers, any subjects, any follow-up, anything that we need to get on the agenda that we can discuss like we did in this particular meeting?
Chairman, this is Commissioner Jolie. At this time, I don't have anything but that say that I'm going to get creative and try to figure out what amazing agency and or community partner is out in the community within SD1 and or surrounding counties. So I'll get back to you on that, Chair.
No, good. That's good. That's a good idea to go into the district and find out who's doing good work that we might not be familiar with, that everybody else needs to know about. And there could be some good practices that we can learn from instead of reinventing the wheel. So that's a good idea. If you could just submit that to the department, and that goes to the other commissioners in your districts. If you discover some veterans group, church group, community organization that's supporting veterans, especially homeless veterans, please send that to Stephanie, and we'll get under consideration for the agenda. Good idea, Commissioner Real. Anything else from anybody? Okay. Now we're going to go around the horn for the good of the order. At this time, members of the Veterans Advisory Commission, commissioners, may comment on agenda or non-agenda matters and ask questions or give directions to staff. And Joe, since you came up, Mr. Leal, do you have anything for the good of the order?
Well, you know, always very happy to be collaborating and working with the Supervisor Police's office. Done several food giveaways, those events. Sure that General Wong can attest to that, and to include maybe Colonel Patricia Kelly and all of you that have taken part in those. The need is so great. You're looking at 500, sometimes 1,000 vehicles. I'm not kidding, or even participants. So the need is great. Always a pleasure to take part in those, and also the collaborations between the VA and the VSOs, such as the American Legion and VFW, for the implementation for the vaccines. The turnouts have been amazing. Tomorrow I will be with the Kiwanis. It's the state president, I believe the national president, the city of West Covina, it's city council here, and they're going to be putting together 200 care packages for the Veteran Peer Access Network. That's also going to be shared with our team members from DMH. When those outreach is going out, the collaborations to be able to give those veterans those care packages to open those lines of communication. There has been a lot of wonderful work within SD1 with also the law enforcement in regards to their HOPE programs or touch programs, depending on how each individual agency names themselves, to go out there and help identify, because they are being funded by those county measures, the county tax, excuse me, and it's been amazing to be able to collaborate with them. There are a lot of glues that are happening, taking place to bridge different agencies within SD1, which has been amazing to see personally. I'm very excited about that. I'm glad to have the connection that I do with the deputies for Hilda Solis. I want to thank Chaplain Dove that I see currently on there. Chaplain Dove, thank you very much for always being and asking the question, how can I feed and when can I feed? And lately, you and I have had great conversations with SD1, its county leadership, to include the bigger picture. I want to thank you for that. Another collaboration that just took place is conversations with DPSS and its regional manager in regards to how it is that we can support their veterans and get them connected. For example, such agencies as VPAN, to include Patriotic Hall. And I definitely want to thank the service officers underneath General Wong and under her leadership. They have been such a crucial piece for these veterans, to include the Veteran Peer Access Network. They are so professional. They follow up. They're amazing. Thank you, General Wong. They definitely represent their leadership very well. So yes, I can attest to that. So to all the partners and to the commissioner that's asking a lot of questions, thank you very much. Everybody that you invited, definitely appreciate. I learned something new. Thank you very much. And that concludes my portion.
Thank you, Commissioner Oyal. Commissioner Patricia Jackson-Kelly, anything that you'd like to contribute? Commissioner Kelly? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, now, go ahead. Yeah, do you have anything for the good of the order?
Okay. The commissioner had a meeting with the my supervisor, Holly Mitchell. She met with all of the commissioners. And I also, as General Wong stated, I was part of the food giveaway that was at Culver City Senior Center this past Saturday. I have met with several members of the staff for the second district, and they are fairly, most of them are new to the to this position. There are very few of the previous one for Mark Ridley Thomas left. I attended at Chappie James Post, they had a poppy brunch. And as you know, yesterday was the National Poppy Day. So the American Legion is very big on recognizing the use of poppies and the importance of it. I've attended several veterans events, so there's no point in listing them. And I'm also working with the Southgate Post on Thursday, May 27th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We will be having a Red Cross blood drive. So I am requesting that the commissioners be involved and see if we can work together to get as many people out as possible for this. I sent Stephanie the flyer. So hopefully Kathleen can promote this as well. That's it for me.
Commissioner Kelly, ma'am?
Yes.
You mentioned, Commissioner, that it is at the American Legion Southgate, correct?
Yes.
I want to mention, Commissioner, that the Veteran Peer Access Network is now have a community access point at that Southgate American Legion. I will put it out through their VPAN, through its leadership, Adam Castillo.
and have them get involved as well to support that Red Cross. But they are now stationed there as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Colonel.
Very good. Next, Commissioner Ullman, anything for the good of the order?
I'm not sure, because I'm a really new commissioner, really, whether or not the West LA Veterans Collective has briefed the Veterans Advisory Commission with regard to the draft community plan. Has that taken place in the past? It has.
I don't think so. I think we're probably due for
Yes,
that.
they
So-
have. They have, but it's been quite a while. I think when it was initially formulated, I think that they came and they briefed us on it, but it's been a while.
Are you suggesting that we put that on the agenda for next month?
Yeah, I missed that in the previous order.
Okay.
It's a possibility, but again, because I'm so new, I wasn't sure if that had been done, 2 or 3 months ago.
But can you articulate that again so Stephanie and the secretary can make note of that?
Sure. The West LA Veterans Collective, they are the principal developer in charge of a majority of the housing construction at VA West LA.
Okay, we made a note of that for next month, and if you can get a hold of Stephanie Guerrero and give her the details and contact information.
Sure, happy to do that. As far as go to the order, are these meetings recorded and hosted somewhere on the department website?
Ooh, I don't know.
The meeting minutes are posted on the website.
The minutes, but not the actual.
Not the recording, no.
It's available upon request.
It is available upon request, though.
Okay, I was just curious whether or not it was just, for example, on YouTube.
That might be something we can address next month to clarify that, because it wasn't clear to me. And I think that's an important component of the commission, and our notes are valuable. Now, today, if we don't have a form, we don't have official minutes, but we do have notes for historical purposes, along with the Zoom video. Okay, good. Let's make a note of that. No, very good.
Great.
Anything else, Commissioner Ullman?
No, that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And wrapping that, go ahead. Wrapping that up, I did a couple events, but I just was contacted this morning. The Vietnam Traveling Wall, the moving wall, is going to be in Los Angeles County from 27 to 31 May at Green Hills Memorial Cemetery in Palos Verdes. The last time it was there, it was about 8 years ago. And I was asked to be the keynote speaker for that event. And they're going to plan that for Sunday, the 30th of May. More on that later. But that's all I have. And thank you, everybody. I'm going to turn this over to General Wong so as we adjourn in memoriam of a couple of veterans. General Wong.
Yes, so we will adjourn in memory of Jacob Cruz. Jacob Cruz, Marine Corps private, was killed in action in 1943 during the Pacific Campaign. The ongoing fighting meant that the 18-year-old from Brooklyn Heights would be buried in a temporary grave in the Tarawa Atoll, where he and more than 1,000 other Marines and sailors died fighting the Imperial Japanese Army. Years later, the U.S. military admitted it couldn't find his burial place. Cruz's name was etched at the Court of the Missing at the National Memorial Cemetery, known as the Punch Bowl, in Hawaii. His family tried to honor him for the rest of their lives. Then in April of last year, his niece received a phone call that his body had been found and would be returning to Los Angeles. And he was returned in April 2021. I also would like to close the meeting in memory of Jake Alarid. This one was submitted to us by Howard Hernandez. Jake Alarid was commander of the El Camino Real American GI Forum in Whittier, California, a Marine and a true patriot. He was an alumnus of the University of Southern California, and as all good alumni from that university, he would encourage us to fight on.
Very good. And just in note of Memorial Day, all those that gave their lives in defense of this country, we should keep their memory and that's why it's important to participate in any Memorial Day event that you can. We're moving on with adjournment. The next meeting is going to be Wednesday, the 9th of June, and we won't have minutes for that meeting. Notes will be taken. But do I have a motion to adjourn the May meeting?
Joe Leon, a motion to.
And that's from
Joe Leo.
Commissioner Leon. And do I have a second?
I second.
Commissioner Allman, second. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. That concludes the May meeting of the Los Angeles County Veterans Advisory Commission. Thank you very much. Go forward with peace and be safe. Thank you very much.
And your audio was much better today. Thank you.